Before you drift away tonight, take a moment to feel the stillness of the room around you. The bed beneath your back feels solid, unmoving, and permanent. But this stillness is a beautiful illusion. If you could slow down time, if you could breathe at the rhythm of the stones, you would feel that you are actually drifting on a vast rocky raft. You are floating on a great ancient ocean of stone. Tonight, we will not worry about the speed of the world above. Instead, we will sink into the deep geologic time of the world below. A story of continents finding their way home, moving slower than a fingernail grows, rocking you gently to sleep. Close your eyes now. Let your eyelids become heavy, as if gravity itself is gently pulling them down, inviting you into a space of perfect, uninterrupted darkness. Adjust your shoulders. Let them drop away from your ears. Feel the weight of your body sinking into the mattress, pressing down into the soft support beneath you. There is nowhere else you need to be. There are no emails to answer, no calls to make, no miles to drive. The world of speed, the world of deadlines and clocks has finished its rotation for the day. You have arrived at the shore of the night. Take a deep breath in through your nose, feeling the cool air fill your lungs, and release it slowly, pushing away the tension of the day. Tonight, we are going to change the way you perceive the stillness around you. In the modern world, perhaps in the city where you live, with its traffic lights and glowing screens, or in the quiet suburbs where the hum of the refrigerator marks the time, we are obsessed with speed. We measure our lives in seconds, in minutes, in the rapid beating of a human heart. We worry that we are moving too slowly, or that the world is moving too fast. But tonight, I invite you to leave that human time behind. Tonight, we are going to slow down. Not just to the pace of a sleeping breath, but slower, much, much slower. We are going to descend into deep time. Deep time is the heartbeat of the earth itself. It is a rhythm so slow that a human lifetime is but a single flicker of an eyelid. If you were to press your ear against the floorboards of your home, past the wood, past the concrete foundation, past the soil and the tangle of roots, down into the solid bedrock of the North American continent, you would hear silence. But this is not the silence of emptiness. It is the silence of patience. It is the sound of a great rocky chest rising and falling in a breath that takes millions of years to complete. Imagine for a moment the ground beneath you. To your waking mind, it feels solid, unmoving, permanent. It is the very definition of stability. We say phrases like rock solid or set in stone because we believe that the earth does not change. But this is a beautiful illusion. The truth is far more comforting. The truth is that you are currently floating. You, your bed, your home, your neighborhood, and the entire state you reside in are all passengers on a massive, ancient raft of stone. We call this a tectonic plate, but plate sounds too rigid, like dinnerware that might shatter. Think of it instead as a great, heavy blanket of rock, miles thick, floating on a deep, warm sea of density. This raft you are lying on is moving, it is drifting, but it moves with such gentle grace, with such agonizing slowness that you never feel a bump. It moves at the speed that your fingernails grow. Look at your hand in your mind's eye. Think of how slowly a fingernail lengthens, imperceptible from hour to hour, day to day. That is the speed of the ground beneath you. It is a pace that refuses to be rushed. It is a pace that says, there is time. There is always enough time. Let this realization seep into your muscles. Let it travel down your spine. The Earth is not in a hurry. And because you are part of the Earth, held by its gravity, cradled by its crust, you do not need to be in a hurry either. Visualizing this deep time allows your brain to unclench. In our daily lives, we feel the pressure of the clock ticking. Tick-tock, tick-tock. It is a frantic mechanical sound. But the Earth's clock does not tick, it flows. It flows like thick honey or like a glacier inching down a valley. Imagine the Appalachian Mountains or the Rockies or the Sierra Nevada, whichever range is closest to your heart. In human time, they stand still, jagged and gray against the sky. But in deep time, in the time of the tectonic plates, these mountains are fluid. They are rising up like dough bread in a warm oven, and they are slumping down like wax melting under a candle. The Earth is fluid. The rocks are fluid. Everything is moving, breathing, shifting, but doing so with such calmness that it creates the solid ground you sleep upon. Feel the support of the bed again. Beneath that bed is the floor. Beneath the floor is the Earth. That Earth is part of the North American plate. This plate has been wandering across the globe for billions of years. It has seen the sun rise from the west and set in the east. It has been covered in tropical rainforests. It has been buried under miles of glacial ice. It has been a desert. It has been a sea. Through all these changes, it has remained. It has carried the land that would become your home through eons of history, safely, slowly, without jarring its passengers. This is the ultimate security. You are held by something that has survived everything. Now, bring your attention to the warmth of your body under the covers. That warmth you generate is a tiny echo of the warmth beneath you. Deep, deep down, thousands of miles below the mattress, the Earth is glowing. The core of our planet is as hot as the surface of the sun. It is a furnace of creation. It is this heat that drives the movement. It is a slow churning convection, like a pot of thick soup simmering on a low, steady flame. The heat rises, catches the underside of the tectonic plates, and drags them gently along, the way a slow river carries a fallen leaf. This heat is the Earth's metabolism. It is the planet's way of breathing. Inhale, and imagine the heat rising from the core, pushing the continents apart by a fraction of an inch. Exhale, and imagine the old cold rock sinking back down into the mantle to be warmed again. Inhale, the Atlantic Ocean widens by the width of a hair. Exhale, the Pacific Ocean shrinks by the width of a hair. This is the respiration of the world. It has been happening since long before you were born, and it will continue long after you are gone. It requires nothing from you. You do not wind this clock. You do not fuel this engine. It is a perpetual motion of comfort, a cradle that rocks itself. There is a profound relief in feeling small in this way. When we think of the vastness of the plates, slabs of rock larger than the United States, heavier than all the cities in the world combined, our personal worries begin to shrink. The stress of tomorrow's meeting, the regret of yesterday's conversation, the checklist of chores. Against the scale of a tectonic plate, these things are lighter than a feather. They dissolve into the ether. The North American plate does not worry about being late. It does not worry about status. It simply is. It drifts. It endures. And tonight, you are syncing your rhythm with it. Allow your breathing to slow down even further now. Try to match the stability of the bedrock. Smooth, deep, unwavering. Imagine that with every breath out, you are sending a root down from your spine, through the mattress, through the floor, anchoring yourself into that massive, slow-moving plate. You are clicking into place. You are locking into the heavy, slow gear of the planet. You might feel a sensation of heaviness in your limbs. This is good. This is the gravity of sleep taking hold. Just as gravity pulls the heavy oceanic plates down into the deep trenches of the sea, sleep is pulling your consciousness down into the deep trenches of rest. Surrender to it.
The story we are about to tell, the story of how our world was made, of how the continents learned to dance, is a story without villains. It is a story without sudden noises. It is a drama that plays out over hundreds of millions of years. It is the ultimate bedtime story because it is the story of the bed itself. We are going to travel back in time, away from the noise of the 21st century. We are going to drift back to a time when the map of the world looked very different. We are going to visit snowy libraries in Germany and ships sailing calm seas. We will watch mountains grow and oceans open. But before we go, take one last moment to thank the ground beneath you. Thank the North American plate for holding you up. It is thick, it is cool, it is ancient. It is the sturdy shield between you and the fires of the deep. It is your vessel for the night. You are safe, you are grounded. You are drifting on a sea of stone, sailing towards the shores of sleep. Let go of the shore. Let the current take you. The drift has begun. Now that we have synchronized our breathing with the slow heave of the earth, let us gently detach from the present moment. Let the room you are in fade away. Let the year, the day, and the hour dissolve like mist in the morning sun. We are traveling back in time. We are drifting back, past the turn of the millennium, past the noise of the 20th century, settling softly into the year 1911. The world is quieter here. There are no airplanes cutting through the clouds above. There is only the sound of the wind. We find ourselves in the small university town of Marburg, Germany. It is deep winter. The town is nestled in a valley, a collection of timber-framed houses and cobblestone streets that wind their way up toward an ancient castle on the hill. Tonight, Marburg is sleeping under a heavy quilt of snow. Visualize this snow. It falls in large, soft flakes, descending in total silence. It covers the slate roofs in white. It mutes the sound of footsteps on the pavement. It clings to the bare branches of the linden trees, outlining them in silver against the dark indigo sky. The world outside is cold, crisp, and still. It is the kind of cold that makes the warmth inside feel like a treasure. Come inside now. Come away from the cold. We are entering a study in one of the university buildings. The door closes behind us with a solid, reassuring click, shutting out the winter chill. The air in here is warm and smells of comforting things. The scent of dry parchment, leather-bound books, pipe tobacco, and beeswax polish. In the center of the room, a fire is crackling in the hearth. Watch the flames for a moment. They dance in slow motion, casting a soft amber glow across the walls. The light flickers against rows and rows of books, illuminating titles written in gold leaf. The room feels protected. It is a sanctuary of thought. Sitting at a heavy oak desk is a young man. This is Alfred Wegener. He is 30 years old, with a calm, thoughtful face and a mustache that catches the firelight. He is a meteorologist, a man who spends his days studying the atmosphere, the clouds, and the weather balloons that float into the heavens. He is a man accustomed to looking up, But tonight, he is looking down. He is alone in the library. The hour is late, and the rest of the university is asleep. The only sounds are the popping of the firewood and the scratching of his pen against paper. But now he sets the pen down. He leans back in his wooden chair, the creak of the wood echoing softly in the room. Alfred is looking at a map. It is a large world atlas spread flat across the desk, illuminated by the warm circle of a kerosene lamp. To you and me, a map is often just a tool for navigation, but to Alfred in this quiet winter moment, the map is a mystery waiting to be whispered. His eyes wander across the great blue expanse of the Atlantic Ocean. He looks at the vast waters that separate the old world from the new. For centuries, cartographers and sailors believed that this ocean was a permanent barrier, a vast distance that had always existed, unchanging since the dawn of creation. But Alfred sees something else. He leans closer to the map, the lamplight casting shadows across the page. His eyes trace the western coast of Africa. Visualize that shape in your mind. It is a distinct curve, bulging outward near the equator, then tucking inward. A convex curve, smooth and rounded like a shoulder. Then his eyes drift west across the blue ink of the Atlantic to the eastern coast of South America. He looks at Brazil. He traces the shape of that coastline. It curves inward, creating a hollow, a concave shape, a perfect pocket. Alfred blinks. He takes a breath of the warm library air. He looks back at Africa, then back at South America. The realization does not come to him like a lightning bolt. It comes like a sunrise, slow, gentle, and undeniable. They fit. It is such a simple thought, yet it changes everything. He imagines cutting the continents out of the paper with a pair of scissors. He imagines sliding South America slowly, gently across the ocean, moving it closer and closer to Africa. In his mind's eye, he watches them meet. The bulge of Brazil slides perfectly into the hollow of West Africa. The coastlines lock together. The puzzle is solved. There are no gaps. There is no forcing. They simply click into place, restoring a wholeness that was lost long ago. Alfred sits in the silence of the library, mesmerized by this vision. He thinks of the two continents not as strangers separated by a sea, but as two sleeping lovers who have drifted apart in the night, yet whose bodies still remember the shape of the other. He imagines that if he could bring them back together, the geologic features would align like sentences in a book. He imagines an ancient mountain range in South America. If he pushed the continent back to Africa, would that mountain range continue on the other side? Like a line of text torn in half. He begins to dream of a time before the separation. He envisions a world where there was no Atlantic Ocean, a time when you could walk from what is now Rio de Janeiro to what is now Luanda without ever getting your feet wet. A time of unity. Outside the window, the snow continues to pile up on the windowsill, thickening the silence. But inside Alfred's mind, the world is moving. He realizes that the earth is not a rigid statue. It is a slow-moving puzzle. There is something deeply comforting about this idea. The world feels less fractured. The distances between us feel less permanent. If the continents were once one, then at their heart, they are still family. They are merely on a long journey, drifting on the currents of deep time. Alfred reaches for his pipe, but leaves it unlit. He is content just to look. He feels a profound sense of peace settle over him. It is the peace of understanding. He knows that he will have to spend the rest of his life explaining this dream to the world. He knows that people will laugh. They will say that rocks can't move, that continents are frozen in place. But tonight, in the safety of this warm room, none of that matters. Tonight, he is just a man witnessing the deep, slow truth of the world. He traces the coastline one more time with his finger. The paper feels smooth and cool. He whispers to himself softly in the empty room. It fits. Imagine yourself in that room with him. Feel the warmth of the fire radiating toward you. Feel the softness of the leather armchair you are resting in. You are safe here in Marburg. The winter wind cannot touch you. The concerns of the future cannot find you. You are witnessing the birth of a beautiful idea. The idea that the ground beneath us is not a cage, but a vessel. The idea that separation is only temporary. Alfred closes the heavy atlas. The sound of the book closing is a soft, heavy thud, the sound of a day's work ending. He extinguishes the lamp. The room plunges into a cozy semi-darkness, lit only by the dying embers of the fire. The orange glow pulses gently, fading, then brightening, then fading again, like a slow heartbeat.
He stands up and walks to the window, looking out at the snowy night. The street lamps of Marburg are glowing hazily through the falling snow. Everything is asleep. The houses are asleep. The trees are asleep. Even the hills seem to be slumbering. Alfred knows that beneath that snow, beneath the cobblestones, the earth is moving. But it moves so gently that it does not wake the sleepers. It cradles them. As Alfred turns to leave the study, heading toward his own bed, toward his own rest, you drift with him. You leave the year 1911 behind, but you carry the warmth of that library with you. You carry the image of the map, the two great continents reaching out to each other across the blue. The pieces fit. Everything belongs. Nothing is truly lost. It has just drifted for a little while. Let this feeling of wholeness wrap around you like the heavy winter coat Alfred wears. Let the certainty of the connection soothe your mind. The world is a puzzle that solves itself over and over again in the quiet dark of history. As we leave Marburg, the snow continues to fall, covering our tracks, softening the edges of the world, preparing us for the next stage of our journey. We are going further back now. We are going to the time before the drift. We are going to the time of unity. But for now, just rest in the warmth of the discovery. Rest in the knowledge that everything fits. Let us leave the snowy window of Alfred Wegener's library now. Let the image of the flickering fire fade gently into the dark. We are going to travel much further than he ever could. We are going to let our minds drift backward, unwinding the clock of the universe. Imagine the years peeling away like layers of transparent silk. We drift past the time of the ice ages, past the time of the great meteor impacts, past the rise of the mammals. We are floating back to a time 250 million years ago, to an era known as the Permian. The world here is different. If you were to look down from space, you would not see the scattered collection of continents we know today. You would not see the lonely isolation of Australia, or the icy solitude of Antarctica, or the vast separation between the Americas and Europe. Instead, you would see one great shape. You would see Pangaea. The word itself sounds like a sigh. Pangaea. It means all earth. It is a name that speaks of total, unbroken unity. Tonight, I want you to visualize this world, for it is a place of profound connection. Imagine a world where there are no borders. There are no edges to fall off of. There are no seas to cross to reach your neighbor. In this ancient time, all the land masses of the world have gathered together. They have drifted across the globe to meet in one specific place, huddling together for warmth, like a sleeping family in a single massive bed. Picture yourself standing in the very center of this supercontinent. You are standing in the heart of the world. The air here is warm and thick. It smells of rich, damp earth and ancient pine needles. The sky above is a deep, endless blue, uncrossed by any airplane, untouched by any smoke. Look around you. In every direction, north, south, east, west, the land stretches out forever. It is a seamless carpet of green. To your left is the land that will one day become North America. To your right is the land that will one day become Africa. But here, in this moment, they are not separate. They are fused. They are locked in a sturdy granite embrace. The rocks of New York are woven tight with the rocks of Morocco. The swamps of Florida are resting against the dry lands of Senegal. There is a deep psychological comfort in this image. We often feel fragmented in our daily lives, pulled in different directions, separated from the things we love. But here, on Pangaea, nothing is separate. Everything is held. Everything is connected. The earth is whole, and because you are imagining it, you are whole too. Let's take a walk through this ancient landscape. The pace is slow. There is no rush, for the land is vast. We are walking through a forest that has no end. These are not the forests of today with their delicate flowers and deciduous leaves. These are the ancient giants, towering ferns that arch over your head like cathedral ceilings, massive conifers with thick, rough bark that has stood for centuries. The silence here is heavy and sweet. It is a green silence. The only sound is the wind moving through millions of needles, a soft, rushing sound like a hush being whispered across the planet. Shh. Shh. As you walk, you realize that you could keep walking forever. You could walk from the bottom of the world to the top without ever getting your feet wet. You could start at the South Pole, crossing the ice-free lands of Antarctica, walk up through the lush valleys of India, cross the plains of Africa, and hike into the mountains of North America, all on one continuous path. Think of the Appalachians. For the American listener, these mountains are the old rolling hills of the East Coast. But in the time of Pangaea, they are young. They are tall and sharp, standing in the very center of the supercontinent. They are the spine of the world. Tonight, imagine those mountains not as a barrier, but as a seam, the stitching that holds the world together. Now, let your mind travel to the edge of the land. Because all the land is gathered in one place, the rest of the world is ocean, one single colossal ocean. It is called Pangaea, the All-Sea. Imagine standing on the shore of Pangaea. The beach stretches out to the left and right, curving gently with the curvature of the earth. The sand is untouched. The waves that roll in are traveling from the other side of the planet. They are long, heavy, rhythmic waves. They have traveled thousands of miles of open water to reach this sand. Listen to the sound of that ocean. Boom, hush. Boom, hush. It is the heartbeat of a liquid universe. Because there are no other continents to block the flow, the tides of Pangaea are powerful and hypnotic. They breathe in and out with the moon, washing the shores of this single island Earth. There is a feeling of safety here on the shore. You are standing on a fortress of rock that cannot be shaken. The ground feels incredibly solid. It has come together to rest. In this era, the Earth is taking a long nap. The tectonic engines have slowed down for a moment. The collisions have stopped. The continents are enjoying a long geologic summer of togetherness. Let this feeling of oneness seep into your body. Just as the continents have merged, let your body merge with the bed. Let your back merge with the mattress. Let your head merge with the pillow. There is no separation between you and the support beneath you. You are one continuous landscape of rest. As the sun begins to set over Pangaea, the sky turns a brilliant violet and gold. The shadows of the giant ferns grow long and soft. The air cools down, just enough to be perfectly comfortable. The hum of ancient insects fades away, replaced by the stillness of the night. Shh. Shh. As you walk, you realize that you could keep walking forever. You could walk from the bottom of the world to the top without ever getting your feet wet. You could start at the South Pole, crossing the ice-free lands of Antarctica, walk up through the lush valleys of India, cross the plains of Africa, and hike into the mountains of North America, all on one continuous path. Think of the Appalachians. For the American listener, these mountains are the old rolling hills of the East Coast. But in the time of Pangaea, they are young. They are tall and sharp, standing in the very center of the supercontinent. They are the spine of the world. Tonight, imagine those mountains not as a barrier, but as a seam, the stitching that holds the world together. Now, let your mind travel to the edge of the land. Because all the land is gathered in one place, the rest of the world is ocean. One single colossal ocean. It is called Pangaea, the All-Sea. Imagine standing on the shore of Pangaea. The beach stretches out to the left and right, curving gently with the curvature of the earth. The sand is untouched. The waves that roll in are traveling from the other side of the planet. They are long, heavy, rhythmic waves. They have traveled thousands of miles of open water to reach this sand. Listen to the sound of that ocean. Boom, hush. Boom, hush. It is the heartbeat of a liquid universe. Because there are no other continents to block the flow, the tides of Pangaea are powerful and hypnotic. They breathe in and out with the moon, washing the shores of this single island Earth. There is a feeling of safety here on the shore. You are standing on a fortress of rock that cannot be shaken. The ground feels incredibly solid. It has come together to rest. In this era, the Earth is taking a long nap. The tectonic engines have slowed down for a moment. The collisions have stopped. The continents are enjoying a long geologic summer of togetherness. Let this feeling of onness seep into your body. Just as the continents have merged, let your body merge with the bed. Let your back merge with the mattress. Let your head merge with the pillow. There is no separation between you and the support beneath you. You are one continuous landscape of rest. As the sun begins to set over Pangaea, the sky turns a brilliant violet and gold. The shadows of the giant ferns grow long and soft. The air cools down, just enough to be perfectly comfortable. The hum of ancient insects fades away, replaced by the stillness of the night. Look up at the stars. They are the same stars we see today, but arranged in different patterns. They look down on a world that is at peace with itself. They look down on a world that has pulled all its scattered pieces back into the center, protecting its heart. There is no loneliness in Pangaea. How could there be? Everything is touching. The roots of the trees in Brazil are tangled with the roots of the trees in the Congo. The wind that blows over Antarctica carries the scent of the Amazon. It is a global community of nature, sharing the same air, the same water, the same ground. Sleep is a form of returning to unity. When we dream, we dissolve the boundaries of our ego. We forget where we end and the world begins. We return to our own personal Pangaea, a place where our memories, our hopes, and our thoughts all merge into one landscape. Tonight, you are a citizen of this supercontinent. You are safe in the interior. The storms of the ocean are far away, miles and miles distant. Here, in the center, the ground is warm and dry. Visualize the map in your mind one last time. Not the fragmented map of the classroom wall, but the single organic shape of the supercontinent. It looks like a great heart. It beats slowly, once every million years. Feel that slow rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. It is the rhythm of deep, dreamless sleep. The great unity is not just a thing of the past. It is a reminder that beneath the surface, everything is connected. The water in your glass was once the water of Pangaea. The carbon in your body was once the carbon of those giant ferns. We are still part of that great oneness. As the velvet darkness of the Permian night settles over the land, the forests go quiet. The creatures of the ancient world retreat to their burrows and nests. The wind dies down. The only thing left is the stability of the rock. You are anchored here. You are part of the all-earth. You are heavy, solid, and whole. And as you rest here, cradled in the center of the world, you can feel a very gentle change beginning, a softness, a loosening. The great unity has lasted for millions of years, but nothing in the universe stays still forever. Even in sleep, there is movement. But for tonight, for this moment, we stay together. We stay in the embrace. We stay in the warmth of the great gathering. Breathe in the unity. Breathe out the separation. You are one. You are here. You are asleep. The long golden summer of Pangaea lasted for millions of years. It was a time of deep stillness, where the earth held its breath, enjoying the comfort of togetherness. But nothing in the universe remains static forever. Even the deepest sleep eventually shifts into a dream. Even the most solid rock eventually learns to flow. Tonight, we witness the beginning of the great departure. We do not see this as a violent event. There is no cracking thunder, no shattering of the ground. Instead, imagine it as a sleeper slowly waking up, stretching their arms wide, and taking a deep, expanding breath. Imagine a frozen river beginning to thaw under the warmth of the spring sun, the ice gently separating to reveal the water below. It begins with a whisper deep beneath the crust. A plum of warmth rises from the mantle, that slow churning soup of heat we imagined earlier. It presses up against the underside of the supercontinent, right along the seam where North America acts as a pillow for Africa. The heat softens the rock. It creates a gentle uplift, a sigh of the earth arching its back. And then The setting sail begins. Visualize the ground beneath the east coast of the United States, what we now call New York, the Carolinas, Massachusetts. For eons, it has been locked tight against the sands of Morocco and the cliffs of Western Europe. But now, a small valley begins to open between them. It is a silent unlocking. It is the sound of a heavy door drifting open on well-oiled hinges. At first, it is just a rift, a long, narrow valley filled with lakes and lush ferns. If you stood on the edge of New Jersey in this ancient time, you could look across the valley and see the fires of Africa burning in the twilight. You could wave to the other side. It is intimate. It is a parting of friends. Then the rains come. For thousands of years, soft, warm rains fall into this widening valley. The water collects, pooling in the lowest points, creating a chain of silver lakes. Eventually, the valley dips low enough to kiss the ocean. The salt water of the Tethys spills in, rushing gently over the rocks, filling the space between the continents. This is the birth of the Atlantic Ocean. But it is not the vast, stormy ocean we know today. In this moment, the Atlantic is a baby ocean. It is a narrow, calm channel, no wider than a river. It is a ribbon of blue winding its way between the great land masses. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship in this narrow sea. The water is glass still, reflecting the giant conifers on the shore. On one side, the cliffs of the Americas. On the other, the hills of Europe. They are so close you can smell the pine trees from both shores at once. But the ship is moving. The land itself is the ship. This is the most relaxing truth of geology. The continent of North America, the very ground you are sleeping on right now, is a vessel. It broke its moorings 200 million years ago. It untied the ropes that held it to the old world and drifted out into the open sea. Feel that sensation of drifting. You know that feeling when you are in a small boat on a quiet lake and you stop rowing. You pull the oars in, you close your eyes, and the boat just drifts. It glides over the water with zero effort, carried by the momentum of the current. That is what North America is doing. That is what you are doing. The continent is sailing west. It is moving away from the sunrise, chasing the sunset. It carries on its back the mountains, the valleys, the future cities, and eventually your home. It carries them all with the steady, confident grace of a massive ocean liner. But this ship has no engine vibration. It has no turbulence. The movement is so smooth, so perfectly fluid, that it can only be measured by the passage of ages. Let's focus on the speed of this journey. It is a speed designed for sleep. The Atlantic Ocean is widening. The Americas are drifting away from Europe. But how fast? 2.5 centimeters per year. 1 inch per year. Look at your hand again in your mind's eye. Look at your fingernail. Watch it for a second. You cannot see it grow. The growth is happening, but it is too slow for the eye to catch. It is a hidden process. That is the speed of the continents. Every year, the Atlantic Ocean gets 1 inch wider. Every year, the flight from New York to London gets 1 fraction of a second longer. Every year, your bed moves 1 inch further away from Paris. There is something incredibly soothing about this pace. It tells us that there is no rush. The earth does not sprint,
It saunters. It takes its time. It allows the journey to unfold over millions and years. Why should you rush through your life when the very ground you stand on moves at the speed of a growing fingernail? Let yourself sink with this speed. Slow your breathing down to match the drift. Drift, drift, drift.
As the millions of years roll by, the narrow river of the Atlantic widens. It becomes a sea. The shores of Europe disappear over the horizon. The separation becomes complete. The silence of the open ocean fills the gap. Deep beneath the water, in the center of the growing ocean, the Earth is busy creating new ground. This is the mid-Atlantic ridge. It is a seam on the bottom of the world, like the stitching on a baseball. Here, the Earth gently pushes up new rock, fresh, warm lava that cools instantly in the deep water. This new rock pushes the plates apart. It is a gentle nudge. Push and drift. Push and drift. It is like a parent gently pushing a child on a swing, a soft, repetitive motion that keeps the momentum going. The North American plate floats over the mantle. It glides over the hot, slippery rock below. It is a heavy, solid raft sliding on a sea of honey. Imagine the silence of that deep, sliding movement. There is no grinding. The underbelly of the continent is hot and pliable. It lubricates the journey. As you lie in your bed, imagine that your room is a cabin on this great continental ship. The window is your porthole. Outside, the stars are wheeling overhead as the ship sails silently through the dark. You are the passenger. You don't have to steer. You don't have to row. The captain of this ship is physics, and the course is set by heat. You are simply along for the ride. The drift is mesmerizing. It is hypnotic. It rocks you. To the west, always to the west. We are sailing away from the past. We are sailing away from the chaos of the collision. We are sailing toward open water, toward space, toward rest. Feel the bed lifting you slightly, buoyed by the magma miles below. Feel the subtle momentum. You are traveling. Even in your stillness, you are a traveler. The separation of Pangaea was not a tragedy. It was a release. It allowed the oceans to circulate. It allowed the winds to blow freely. It gave the continents their own identities. It gave North America the solitude it needed to become the land it is today. And so the great stone ships sail on. Europe turns to the east. South America drifts south and west. Antarctica heads for the bottom of the world to find the cold. And North America, your vessel, continues its slow, majestic cruise towards the Pacific. The water of the Atlantic fills the space between them, a vast blue blanket that tucks the continents in, separating them so they can sleep without bumping into one another. The ocean is the space between the thoughts. The continents are the dreams drifting on the surface. Let yourself float on that surface now. The line between the water and the ship blurs. You are drifting. The gap is widening. The tension is fading. The shore is far behind you, and the open sea of sleep is calm and flat. Set sail. Cut the ropes. Let the current take you, inch by inch, breath by breath. The ship is steady, the course is true, and the night is long and peaceful. We leave the open waters of the ancient Atlantic now. We let the millions of years drift away like sea foam. We are traveling forward in time, coming to rest in the middle of the 20th century. It is 1952. We are in America.
Specifically, we are just north of New York City, on the quiet, leafy grounds of Columbia University's Lamont Geological Observatory. The air here is different. It does not smell of salt spray or ancient ferns. It smells of chalk dust, old paper, coffee, and the sharp, clean scent of India ink. Let us enter a small room in this observatory. It is a quiet space, tucked away from the noise of the main halls. The windows are tall, letting in the soft, gray light of a cloudy afternoon. Outside, the trees sway gently in the breeze, but inside, the air is still. It is a stillness dedicated to concentration. Sitting at a wide drafting table is a woman named Marie Tharp. She is the cartographer of the invisible. Take a moment to visualize her workspace. It is a landscape of texture and quiet industry. There are rolls of long white paper unfurled across the table like scrolls of scripture. There are pots of black ink, rulers, magnifying glasses, and pencils sharpened to the finest possible point. Marie is doing something that no one in the history of the human race has ever done before. She is drawing a map of the bottom of the ocean. Before Marie, the world believed that the ocean floor was flat, a boring, mud-covered plain that stretched seamlessly from one continent to the other. They imagined it like the bottom of a drained swimming pool, smooth, featureless, and silent. But Marie is discovering that the truth is far more majestic. She is not out on the ships herself. She is here in this quiet room, acting as the interpreter of the deep. Ships sailing across the Atlantic are sending her their data, long strips of paper covered in squiggly lines. These lines are sonar readings. Ping, the sound goes down. Echo, the sound comes back. Imagine the rhythm of those soundings. It is a lullaby of physics. The sound wave travels down through the cold, crushing dark of the water, touches the bottom, and returns. The time it takes tells Marie how deep the water is. She takes these numbers, thousands and thousands of lonely numbers, and she translates them into a drawing. Watch her hand move. It is steady. It is patient. She dips her pen into the ink. The nib is metal, cool to the touch. She touches it to the paper. The ink flows black and smooth. She is drawing mountains that are underwater. She is drawing valleys that are wrapped in eternal darkness. She is drawing canyons deeper than the Grand Canyon, yet they are hidden beneath miles of blue pressure. There is something incredibly soothing about watching someone work with such precision. Scratch, scratch, scratch goes the pen. It is the sound of order being created out of chaos. It is the sound of the unknown becoming known. As Marie draws, a picture begins to emerge from the white paper. She sees the flat, sandy plains near the coastlines. She sees the steep drop-offs of the continental shelves. But then, as her pen travels to the center of the Atlantic Ocean, she sees something else. It is not a flat plain. It is a mountain range. A massive, jagged, soaring mountain range runs right down the center of the ocean floor, north to south, mirroring the shape of the continents. It is sleeping there in the dark, grander than the Rockies, longer than the Andes. But Marie notices something even more specific. She leans in closer, her eyes narrowing behind her glasses. Right down the center of this underwater mountain range, there is a notch. A deep V-shaped valley cuts through the peaks. It looks like a scar. It looks like a rift. She traces it with her finger. It runs continuously, mile after mile, a distinct groove in the crust of the earth. And then she realizes what it is. Imagine a baseball. You know the way a baseball feels in your hand, round, solid, comforting. You know the red stitching that curves around the surface, that raised seam that holds the leather cover together. That is what Marie has found. She has discovered that the Earth has a seam. The mid-Atlantic ridge is not just a pile of rocks. It is the stitching of the world. It is the place where the planet is growing. It is the place we imagined in the last chapter, where the heat rises and pushes the continents apart. But to Marie, looking at her drawing, it looks like a zipper. This discovery is one of the most relaxing facts in science, because it confirms that the Earth is a system. It is not a random collection of rocks. It is a structure. It is held together.
Visualize that seam winding its way around the globe. It runs down the Atlantic, curves around Africa, travels up into the Indian Ocean, and loops across the Pacific. It is 40,000 miles long. It is the longest mountain range in the solar system, and yet, until Marie drew it, it was entirely hidden in the dark, warm embrace of the sea. Marie leans back in her chair. The room is quiet. The ink is drying, turning from a glossy wet black to a matte finish. She realizes she is the first person to see the face of the Earth as it truly is. She thinks of Alfred Wegener, the man in the snowy library from years ago. He had dreamed that the continents moved. Now, Marie has found the tracks. She has found the engine. The Rift Valley is where the movement starts. There is a profound peace in this vindication. The story fits together. The puzzle is complete. The continents fit, and the ocean floor shows the path they took. For you, lying in your bed tonight, this map offers a special kind of comfort. It means that the depths are not a place of chaos. They are a place of architecture. Beneath the waves, the Earth is built like a cathedral, with arches, spires, and a central aisle. The water of the ocean is heavy, pressing down with immense weight, but the rock of the ridge pushes back, holding the structure strong. Balance, pressure and resistance, water and stone. Marie takes a break. She looks out the window. The sun is setting over the Hudson River, casting a purple twilight over the trees. She feels tired, but it is a good tiredness. It is the exhaustion of creation. She rolls up the map. The paper crinkles softly, a crisp, clean sound. She is tucking the ocean in for the night. Think of the ocean floor right now. Think of that ridge. It is sitting there in absolute silence. It is pitch black. The water pressure is immense, a heavy blanket that never lifts. But in that darkness, there is stability. The ridge is the spine of the planet, sturdy and unmoving in the short term, yet flexible and alive in the long term. You are resting on the surface of this world. Far below you, the seam on the baseball holds everything in place. Marie turns off the desk lamp. Click. The room fills with shadows. She gathers her things and walks out of the office, her footsteps echoing softly in the hallway. She leaves the map on the table. The mountains, the valleys, the rift, they are all safe on the paper. The mystery has been drawn. The monster of the deep has been revealed to be nothing more than a mountain, sleeping under a blanket of water. There is nothing left to fear in the deep. It is just rock. It is just heat. It is just the slow, steady work of the planet building itself, inch by inch. As Marie walks home in the cool evening air,
She imagines the Atlantic Ocean not as a barrier, but as a bridge. A bridge with a foundation that goes all the way to the core. Let your mind rest on that image, the seam of the world, stitched tight, holding you, holding the continents, holding the oceans. The map is drawn, the course is charted. You can close your eyes now. The world has been measured and it is found to be solid. Drift away from the library. Drift away from the ink and the paper. Sink back down into the water. Not the scary water of a storm, but the deep, heavy, silent water that cradles the mountains of the deep. Down here, it is quiet. Down here, it is slow. We have walked the forests of Pangaea. We have sailed the widening Atlantic. We have drawn the maps of the hidden mountains. Now, we must go deeper. Let your mind sink down through the floor of the ocean. Imagine passing through the silt and the sand, down into the hard black basalt of the crust. We are descending into the very body of the earth. We are leaving the world of cool air and cold water behind. We are entering the world of the great warmth. Beneath the rocky shell that we live on, that thin, fragile skin of the planet, lies the mantle. It is a word that sounds like a covering, a cloak, something you wrap around your shoulders on a cold night. And in a geological sense, that is exactly what it is. It is a thick, heavy blanket of rock that wraps around the core of the planet, keeping the heat inside. Close your eyes and visualize this space. It is not a cavern. It is not empty. It is filled, solid, and dense. But it is not rock hard in the way we think of a granite countertop. Think of honey. Think of how honey behaves when you keep the jar in the fridge. It is hard. It doesn't move. But if you warm that honey up just a little, it begins to soften. It retains its shape, but it gains the ability to flow. That is the mantle. It is rock that has been warmed by the heart of the earth until it has become soft, pliable, and yielding. It is rock that flows. This is the warmth beneath. It is a layer of the earth that is thousands of miles thick. It is a vast, glowing ocean of olive green stone called peridotite, heated to a temperature where it glows like an ember in a fireplace. But there is no fire here. Fire is chaotic. Fire is fast. The mantle is not fire. It is heat. It is a steady, radiating warmth that has not gone out for 4.5 billion years. Let's visualize the movement here. It is called convection. To understand convection and to lull you to sleep, I want you to picture a lava lamp. You know the one. Perhaps you had one in your bedroom growing up, or you have seen one in a quiet corner of a dimly lit room. Picture the glass vessel. Inside, there is a clear liquid, and suspended within that liquid is a heavy colored wax. Maybe it's a soothing orange or a deep calming blue. At the bottom of the lamp, there is a light bulb, a gentle heat source. Watch the lamp in your mind. The wax at the bottom gets warm. As it warms, it expands. It becomes lighter. Slowly, so slowly that you almost can't see it start, a globule of wax begins to rise. It detaches from the bottom. It floats upward, stretching into a long, soft teardrop shape. It ascends through the liquid, glowing as it catches the light. Up, up, up. It reaches the top of the lamp, away from the heat. Here it cools down just a fraction. it becomes heavy again. And then, with infinite grace, it sinks. Down, 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 back to the source to be warmed again. This is the rhythm of the earth. This is the heartbeat of geology. The lava lamp is a miniature version of the planet. The core of the earth is the light bulb. The mantle is the wax. Huge plumes of hot rock, miles wide, slowly detach from the depths near the core. They rise up towards the surface, carrying heat, carrying energy. They rise not in seconds like the lava lamp, but over millions of years. They rise with the patience of eternity. When this warm rock reaches the underside of the crust, the underside of the bed you are sleeping on, it spreads out sideways. It cools. It becomes heavy. And eventually, it sinks back down into the depths. This circular motion is called a convection cell. It is a loop, a cycle, a wheel that turns so slowly it mimics stillness. Imagine that you are watching this happen in super slow motion. Inhale as the heat rises. Exhale as the rock sinks. Inhale, the warmth lifts up. Exhale, the weight settles down. This movement is what carries the continents. Remember the North American plate? That great stone ship? It is not moving under its own power. It is floating on top of this convection current.
Think of a lazy river at a water park. You know how the water flows gently in a circle? And if you drop a leaf onto the surface of the water, the leaf just goes. The leaf doesn't have to swim. The leaf doesn't have to struggle. It is simply carried by the greater force beneath it. The continents are leaves on the surface of the mantle. Your home is a leaf. You are resting on a leaf. There is a tremendous sense of support in this idea. You are being carried. The earth is doing all the work. The mantle is trudging along, cycling its heat, dragging the heavy plates across the surface so gently that you can build a house of cards on the table and it will never fall. This thick, viscous soup of rock acts as a shock absorber. It cushions the plates. It creates a fluid layer that allows the world to change without shattering. And let's think about the warmth itself. Sometimes we think of the Earth's interior as a scary place, a place of hellfire. But tonight, let's reframe that. This heat is the lifeblood of the planet. Without this heat, the Earth would be a cold, dead rock like Mars or the Moon. This heat creates the magnetic field that protects us from the sun. This heat recycles the nutrients in the ground. This heat keeps the planet alive. It is a planetary body heat. Just as your body stays warm under the covers, 98.6 degrees of perfectly regulated biology, the Earth stays warm under its crust. Feel the warmth of your own blankets now. Feel the heat trapped between the sheets and your skin. That warmth is comforting. It makes your muscles relax. It makes your eyelids heavy. Imagine that your personal warmth is connecting with the warmth of the mantle deep below. You are a small spark of heat resting on top of a giant sphere of heat. You are compatible. You are part of the system. The soup of the mantle is thick. Geologists use the word viscous, high viscosity, like molasses in January, like tar, like warm taffy. Think of stirring a pot of very thick stew. You can feel the resistance against the spoon. It is heavy. It is substantial. That heaviness is what holds you up. If the mantle were water, the continents would sink.
But because the mantle is this thick, dense, semi-solid fluid, the continents float high and dry. You are supported by density. You are buoyed by thickness. Let your mind drift back to the image of the lava lamp. Watch the amber blob rise again. See how it changes shape as it moves. It elongates, it squashes, it is flexible. It doesn't break, it just adapts. Allow your thoughts to become like that warm wax. Let your thoughts soften. Let the rigid edges of your worries melt away. Let your mind become fluid. If a worry rises up, let it float to the top, cool off, and sink back down into the depths where it can dissolve. You don't need to hold on to a rigid shape tonight. You can flow. The convection currents are turning, round and round, slow and steady, a perpetual motion machine of relaxation. The heat rises, the plate moves, the Atlantic widens, the night deepens. The heat rises, the plate moves, the Atlantic widens, the night deepens. It is a rhythm that has no end. It is a cradle that never stops rocking. You are floating on a warm river of stone. The current is lazy. The destination is dreams. There is nothing to do but let the current take you. Warm, heavy, flowing. The earth is breathing its heat, and you are sleeping in the warmth of its exhale. We have witnessed the birth of the ocean floor. We have seen how the mid-Atlantic ridge stitches the world together with fresh, warm lava, creating new ground every single day. But for every beginning, there must be an ending. For every rise, there must be a fall. For every waking, there must be a sleep. The earth, in its infinite wisdom, understands balance. It knows that it cannot keep growing forever. If new rock is being made in the Atlantic, then somewhere else old rock must be laid to rest. Tonight, we travel to the other side of the world. We leave the widening Atlantic and drift over the Americas to the vast, silent expanse of the Pacific Ocean. Here, the story is not about birth, it is about return. The floor of the Pacific Ocean is different from the Atlantic. It is older, it is wiser. It has traveled thousands of miles from where it was born. Over millions of years, it has cooled down. It has become dense, heavy, and thick. It has collected the dust of the ocean, the soft, fine sediment that falls like eternal snow through the dark water. This ocean floor is tired. It has carried the weight of the sea for eons. It has supported the islands, the whales, and the ships, and now it is ready to go home. We call this place a subduction zone. In the headlines of the waking world, this area is often called the Ring of Fire. It sounds dramatic, chaotic, even frightening. But tonight, we are going to look at it through the eyes of peak time. We are going to reframe this ring not as a place of violence, but as a cycle of renewal. Think of it instead as the ring of rest. Visualize the coast of the Pacific Northwest, places like Oregon, Washington, or British Columbia. Or picture the coast of Japan or Chile. Here, the great oceanic plate meets the continental plate. The continental plate, the land we live on, is made of granite. It is light, airy, and floats high on the mantle. It is like a fluffy pillow. The oceanic plate is made of basalt. It is dark, iron-rich, and incredibly heavy. When they meet, they do not crash. They do not fight. Instead, the heavy oceanic plate simply bows its head. It surrenders to gravity.
Because it is so heavy and cold, it slides gently beneath the continent. This is the ultimate act of tucking in. Imagine you are making your bed. You take the edge of the sheet and you tuck it smoothly under the mattress. It disappears. It is held tight. It is secure. That is what the Pacific Ocean is doing. It is tucking itself in under the edge of the world. Let's slow this process down to the speed of sleep. The movement is smooth. It is lubricated by the water and the soft sediments on the ocean floor. The great slab of rock, miles thick, begins its long descent back into the warmth of the earth. Slide and sink. Slide and sink. There is a profound sense of release in this movement. The rock is no longer fighting to stay afloat. It is giving in to the pull of the deep. It is letting go. As the plate slides deeper, it moves away from the cold water of the ocean. It moves down into the crust, then into the upper mantle. Down here, the temperature begins to rise. Imagine the sensation of coming in from a snowy day and stepping into a warm bath. That initial feeling of the cold thawing out of your bones, the tension dissolving, the shivering stopping. That is what the rock feels. As it descends deeper, the heat of the earth embraces it. The rock, which has been rigid and frozen for millions of years, begins to soften. It begins to glow. It begins to melt. This is not destruction. This is recycling. The earth is taking the old, worn-out rock and melting it down to make it new again. It is returning the rock to the source. Nothing is ever lost in geology. The atoms that made up that ocean floor, the calcium, the silicon, the iron, they are simply changing form. They are transforming from a solid block of stress into a liquid flow of potential. This is the cradle of the deep. It is the place where the earth rocks its old crust to sleep, melting it back into the primitive soup of the mantle. For you, lying in your bed, this concept of subduction can be a powerful visualization for falling asleep. Imagine that your waking self, your thoughts, your worries, the physical tension in your shoulders is like that heavy, cold oceanic plate. It has been carrying the weight of the day. It is dense with information. It is tired. And now you have reached the edge of the night. You have reached the trench. You are sliding beneath the surface of sleep. You are tucking yourself in. Feel your body getting heavier.
The heaviness is not a burden. It is a vehicle. It is the gravity that pulls you down into the comfort of the mattress. Just as the plate slides under the continent, let your consciousness slide under the cover of darkness. Drift down, deeper, past the noise of the surface, past the light, down into the warm, dark, silent mantle of sleep. The ring of fire is actually a ring of warmth. The volcanoes that sit above these zones, like Mount Rainier or Mount Fuji, are just the steam vents of this great recycling process. They are the earth letting off a little pressure, a little sigh of relief as the old rock melts. Visualize the color of this transition. It starts as the dark blue of the deep ocean. Then, as you sink, it turns to the black of the underground. Then slowly, a warm, deep red begins to glow at the edges of your vision. It is a comforting red, like the embers of a dying fire, like the inside of your eyelids when you face a warm light. The rock is returning to the liquid state. Form is dissolving into flow. This is what dreams are. The solid structures of our logic melt down.
The rigid rules of our daily life dissolve. We become fluid again. We mix and swirl in the warm convection of the subconscious. The subduction zone is the ultimate letting go. The Pacific plate does not claw at the edges of the continent trying to stay up. It accepts its journey. It knows that to rest, it must go down. Think of the scale of this. Thousands of miles of rock, quietly slipping beneath the land, inch by inch, year by year. It happens while you work. It happens while you eat. And most importantly, it happens while you sleep. The earth is taking care of its own renewal. You don't have to manage it. You don't have to clean up the ocean floor. Gravity does it. Heat does it. Time does it. You can trust the cycle. Feel the bed tucking you in from below. The mattress rises to meet you, just as the mantle rises to meet the sinking plate. You are held in the crush of gravity, but it feels like a hug, a heavy, weighted blanket of comfort. Let go of the edge of the continent. Let go of the shore. Sink into the trench. It is quiet down there. There are no storms in the subduction zone. The waves of the surface cannot reach this deep. There is only the slow, steady friction of stone on stone, smoothing everything out. Old thoughts are melting. Old stresses are liquefying. Everything is being recycled into energy for tomorrow. But for now, there is only the descent. Slow, heavy, warm. The Pacific floor has finished its journey across the world. It has earned this rest. And you, having finished your journey across the day, have earned yours too. Tuck your shoulder in. Tuck your mind in. Slide beneath the surface. The earth is holding you. The cycle is turning. Rest in the cradle of the deep. We have spent much of our journey tonight in the deep, floating on the sea, sliding into the mantle, drifting on liquid rock. But now we return to the surface. We return to the open air. We look up. In the language of the waking world, when tectonic plates meet, we call it a collision. It is a harsh word. It sounds like metal crunching against metal or the breaking of glass. But in the language of deep time, in the slow rhythmic dialect of the earth, plates do not collide. They embrace. Tonight, we are going to visualize the birth of mountains not as a crash, but as a slow motion gathering. We are going to focus on the oldest, wisest guardians of the American landscape, the Appalachian Mountains. If you live on the east coast of the United States, these are your neighbors. From the rolling hills of Alabama, winding up through the Blue Ridge of Virginia, crossing the quiet forests of Pennsylvania, and stretching all the way to the granite peaks of Maine, these mountains are the spine of the East. But unlike the young, jagged, restless Rocky Mountains in the West, which are still sharp with adolescence, the Appalachians are the elders. They are the gentle giants. They are soft, rounded, and covered in a thick quilt of green trees. They have seen everything, and tonight they are standing watch over your sleep. Let us travel back in time to see how they were made. Imagine two massive tablecloths spread out on a table. If you were to place your hands on the edges and push them slowly toward the center, the fabric would not break. It would wrinkle. It would fold. Soft loops of cloth would rise up, creating peaks and valleys. This is what happened hundreds of millions of years ago. It was a time when the continents were coming together to form Pangaea. The great landmass of Africa began to drift toward North America. They were drawn together by the currents of the mantle we spoke of earlier. Closer and closer. When they finally met, it was the slowest meeting in history. It was a kiss that lasted for 40 million years. The crust of the earth buckled. The land folded over itself. Great layers of rock, miles thick, were pushed upward toward the sky. They rose inch by inch, century by century. There was no sudden explosion, just a steady, relentless uplifting. In their youth, the Appalachians were terrifyingly tall. They were jagged and fierce, piercing the clouds, standing as high as the Himalayas do today. They were mountains of sharp edges and raw stone. But that was a long, long time ago. That was before the dinosaurs. That was before the birds. Since then, the earth has been doing its quiet, patient work of softening. This is the part of the story that is much like a lullaby, the erosion. We often think of wind and rain as destructive forces, but in this story, they are sculptors. They are the sandpaper in the carpenter's hand. For hundreds of millions of years, the soft rains have fallen on the sharp peaks of the Appalachians. The winds have blown through the valleys. The frost has nipped at the jagged edges. Year after year, the sharp points were worn down. The aggression of the stone was smoothed away. The mountains were humbled. They settled down. Think of a river stone that you might pick up from a stream. You know how it feels in your hand. Smooth, cool, round. It has no sharp edges to cut you. It is pleasing to hold. The Appalachians are that river stone, but on the scale of a continent. Time has rounded their shoulders. Time has softened their profile. They no longer pierce the sky. They nudge it gently. Visualize the Blue Ridge Mountains as they are tonight. There is a reason they are called blue. The trees that cover them, millions of oaks, hickories, and pines, release a fine natural mist into the air. When the sun hits this mist, it scatters the light, creating a permanent soft focus haze of indigo and violet. It is a landscape that looks like a watercolor painting that hasn't quite dried. Everything is blurred. Everything is soft. Imagine standing on one of these ancient peaks tonight. The air is cool and smells of damp moss and evergreen sap. The silence is profound. It is not the empty silence of a desert, but the living silence of a sleeping forest. Look out over the ridges. They roll away into the distance, like waves on a green ocean. One ridge behind another, fading from green to blue to gray until they dissolve into the night sky. Ridge and valley. Ridge and valley. It is a rhythmic landscape. It mimics the REM cycles of sleep. Up and down, soft and slow. These mountains are stable. They have finished growing. They are done with the stress of collision. Now they are simply resting. They are the heavy, sleeping giants that hold the continent down. There is a deep comfort in being near something so old. If you are sleeping in a city like New York, or Atlanta, or Washington, D.C., remember that these mountains are just to your west. They are the bedrock. They have survived the splitting of Pangaea. They have survived the ice ages, when glaciers scraped against their northern toes. They have survived meteors and storms. And through it all, they have remained. Think of the layers of rock inside these mountains. Limestone, sandstone, shale. They are folded together like the pages of a closed book. They are holding the history of the world tight within them. Because they are so old, the ground here is settled. The seismic tantrums of the young Earth are over in this place. The ground you are lying on is finished. It is secure. Imagine the trees that grow on these slopes. The roots of the trees reach down into the ancient, crumbled rock. They hold the soil in place.
The gentle giants are covered in a blanket of life. In the summer, it is a blanket of deep green leaves. In the autumn, a quilt of red and gold. In the winter, like tonight, it might be a thin sheet of white snow, or the bare, gray velvet of sleeping branches. The mountains are tucking themselves in. Let's connect this to your own body. Sometimes we carry tension in our bodies that feels like jagged peaks. We hold our shoulders high. We clench our jaws. We are like the young Appalachians, sharp and tense. But sleep is your erosion. Sleep is the gentle rain and the soft wind. As you lie here, let the gravity of the earth sand you down. Let your sharp edges soften. Let your shoulders drop. Let your brow smooth out. Become like the Blue Ridge, round, rolling, at peace. The struggle of the collision is over. You don't need to push against the world anymore. The day is done. The uplift is finished. Now is the time for the settling. Feel the presence of these mountains in your mind. They are solid friends. They block the winds. They catch the clouds. They filter the water. They are the silent, stoic guardians of the night. If you listen closely to the wind moving through the valleys of the Appalachians, it sounds like a long, slow exhale. It is the sound of the earth relaxing. The deer are sleeping in the hollows. The bears are resting in their dens. The birds are tucked into the pines. The entire ecosystem is cradled in the arms of these old folded rocks. You are part of that landscape. Whether you are near them or far away, you are on the same plate. You are supported by the same crust. The mountains are not going anywhere. When you wake up tomorrow, they will still be there. When you wake up in 10 years, they will still be there. When you wake up in a lifetime, they will still be there. They have nowhere to go. They are happy just to be. Let that permanence anchor you. You don't need to hold the world up tonight. The mountains are doing it for you. They are the pillars of the sky, worn smooth by love and time. Rest your head on the pillow as if it were a soft, mossy hill in the Shenandoah Valley. Smell the imaginary scent of pine and rain. Feel the cool mist on your face. The gentle giants are watching. The collision has turned into an embrace. The rock has turned into a cradle. Sleep now, safe in the shadow of the ancient hills. Smooth, steady, still. We leave the gentle rolling slopes of the Appalachian Mountains now. We leave the salt air of the coasts. We are traveling inland. We are moving toward the silent, vast center of the night. If you are listening to this story from the heartland of America, from the Great Plains, the Midwest, the Deep South, or the Canadian border, you are currently resting on something truly miraculous. You are resting on the North American Craton. It is a word that sounds strong, doesn't it? Craton. It comes from the Greek word for strength or power, and it is the perfect name for the ground beneath your bed. To understand the Craton, we must change how we look at the land. When we look out our windows, we see soil, grass, asphalt, and trees.
We see the thin layer of the present day. But if you were to strip all of that away, peel back the cornfields of Iowa, the forests of Minnesota, the red dirt of Oklahoma, you would find the basement. Geologists actually call it that, the Precambrian basement. It is the hard, cold, crystalline rock that forms the foundation of the continent. It is the hull of the ship. While the edges of the continent, like California or the East Coast, have been crumpled, folded, and added onto over time, the Craton is different. The Craton is the ancient core. It is the nucleus. It is the part of the Earth that has not been deformed, broken, or heated for over 1 billion years. Think about that time scale. 1 billion years. While the rest of the world was shifting, colliding, and tearing apart, the rock beneath you was sitting still. It was holding its breath. It was maintaining its shape. It is the definition of stability in a chaotic universe. Imagine this Craton as a massive shield of granite. It stretches from the Arctic Circle in Canada all the way down to Texas. It spreads from the Rockies in the west to the Appalachians in the east. It is a single, continuous, unbroken plate. If you are lying in bed right now in a place like Chicago or St. Louis or Kansas City or Denver, visualize what is holding you up. You are not just on dirt. You are pinned to a slab of rock that is 40 miles thick. This rock is cold. It is dense. It is incredibly strong. It is the Earth's way of saying, I will not move. I will not shake. I am here. There is a profound psychological safety in connecting with the Craton. In our lives, we often feel like things are shifting too fast. Relationships change, jobs change, the news cycle spins faster and faster. But beneath all of that, beneath the very floor of your house, is a reality that refuses to change. The Craton is your anchor. Let's visualize the wandering of this great stone heart. Although the Craton is externally stable, meaning it doesn't crack or fold, it does move. It wanders. But it wanders with a dignity and slowness that is hypnotic to think about. Geologists have a name for ancient North America. They call it Laurentia. Laurentia is the old soul of the continent. Imagine Laurentia as a great flat raft floating on the Mantle. For eons, it has been drifting across the globe. At one point, the ground you are sleeping on was near the South Pole, covered in ice. At another point, it was straddling the equator, covered in tropical shallow seas. It has seen the sun from every angle. It has felt the tropical rain and the polar wind. But through all these travels, the heart remained whole. It is like a traveler who journeys through a storm but keeps their inner peace completely undisturbed. Let yourself sink with the heartland. Even the geography of the American interior reflects this deep peace. Think of the Great Plains. Think of the long, flat horizon lines of the Dakotas or Nebraska. Why is it so flat? Why is it so open? Because the rock beneath it is stable. It hasn't been pushed up into jagged peaks. It hasn't been torn into valleys. It has simply sat there, level and calm, allowing the soil to rest upon it like a blanket. There is a silence in the middle of the continent that you cannot find anywhere else. It is the silence of the stone. If you are lying on your back, imagine that your spine is aligned with this basement rock. The Craton is solid. You are solid. The Craton is unmoving. You are unmoving. The Craton is cool and heavy. You are heavy. Let's go deeper into the history of this rock to find comfort. The rocks of the North American Craton are some of the oldest on Earth. Some of them are 3 to 4 billion years old. They were formed when the Earth was just a baby. They were forged in the original fires of the planet's creation, and then they cooled down. They have been cool ever since. They have retired from the active geology of the world. They are done with volcanoes. They are done with earthquakes. They are simply resting. There is something soothing about being in the presence of something that has finished its work. The Craton is not striving to become anything else. It is content to be the foundation. Imagine the layers of history resting on top of this granite shield. Above the granite, there are layers of sandstone from ancient beaches that no longer exist. Above the sandstone, there are layers of limestone from warm, shallow seas that once covered Kansas and Ohio. Above the limestone, the rich, dark soil of the prairies. And above the soil, the foundation of your home. And inside the home, your bed. And in the bed, you. You are the final layer. You are the resting point on top of this great historical stack of stability. The Craton carries you gently. It absorbs the vibrations of the world. When a truck drives by outside or a thunderstorm rolls overhead, the Craton absorbs the noise. It takes the energy and disperses it deep, deep down into its granite roots, silencing it. It creates a zone of quiet for you to sleep in. Now think of the wandering again. We are currently drifting west-southwest. The entire continent, this whole massive assembly of rock, is slowly rotating and drifting toward the Pacific. But because the Craton is so large and so thick, the ride is perfectly smooth. It is like being on the largest cruise ship ever built. A ship so big that the ocean waves cannot rock it. A ship so steady that the water in your glass never ripples. North America is that ship.
And the Craton is the keel, the heavy centerline weight that prevents the ship from tipping. You are safe here. You are not on the edge of a cliff. You are not on a fault line. You are in the center. The center is where the balance is. The center is where the stillness lives. Feel the gravity of the Craton pulling you down. It is a friendly gravity. It is the earth saying, I have you. I am not letting go. The bedrock is holding your house. It is holding your town. It is holding your memories. It has held them for billions of years, and it will hold them for billions more. As you breathe in, imagine drawing up strength from this ancient stone. As you breathe out, imagine sending your roots down into it. Lock yourself into the stability. If your mind tries to wander to the worries of tomorrow, gently remind it of the Craton. Tomorrow is just a ripple on the surface. The Craton is the deep reality, and the reality is stillness. The wandering is slow. The destination is rest. The foundation is eternal. Visualize the map of North America in your mind one last time tonight. See that broad, vast middle section, the shield, the plains, the heart. See it glowing with a soft, steady amber light. It is the hearth of the continent, and you are sleeping right in front of the fire, warm and protected. Nothing can shake you tonight. The ground is too thick. The roots are too deep. You are part of the bedrock now, immovable, ancient, asleep. We leave the solid, unmoving granite of the North American Craton now.
We leave the fields and the plains behind. We are taking flight in our minds, drifting westward, out past the coast of California, out past the noise of the land, into the vast, silent blue of the Pacific Ocean. We are traveling to the most isolated chain of islands on Earth. We are traveling to Hawaii. But tonight, we are not going there as tourists. We are going there as time travelers. We are going to witness a geological process so rhythmic, so steady, and so beautiful that it acts as a lullaby for the planet itself. Imagine the Pacific Ocean, miles of deep indigo water. Above it, the sky is a soft, endless dome of stars. The air is warm and carries the scent of salt and sweet plumeria. The only sound is the wind moving through the palm fronds, a dry, gentle rattle, and the ceaseless hush of the waves. Hush, hush. Beneath this paradise lies one of the most comforting mechanisms in geology, the hotspot. Picture a single steady candle flame. It is burning deep within the Earth's mantle. It is stationary. It does not move. It is a fixed point of heat, a fountain of magma that has been burning in the exact same spot for 80 million years. Now, remember the Pacific Plate, that massive raft of rock we spoke of earlier. It is sliding over this candle flame. It moves to the northwest, slowly, steadily. Imagine holding a sheet of paper over a candle. If you hold it still, it burns a hole. But if you move the paper slowly, the candle draws a line. That is what is happening here. The Pacific Plate is the paper. The hotspot is the flame. And the Hawaiian Islands are the drops of wax that form on the surface. This is the assembly line of islands. It is a creative process that happens in perfect rhythm. Let us start at the beginning of the line, the big island of Hawaii. This is the youngest child. It is sitting directly over the hotspot right now. It is still being born. Deep beneath the waves, the lava is rising. It breaks the surface, hissing as it touches the sea, turning into steam and new black rock. The island is growing. It is swelling. Think of Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea. They are not angry volcanoes. They are shield volcanoes. They are gentle giants with long sloping sides that look like a warrior's shield laid on the ground. The lava here flows slowly. It creates new land, inch by inch. It is the earth expanding its reach. But the plate is moving. The Pacific Plate carries the big island away from the heat. It drifts northwest. It drifts into the cool. As we travel northwest in our minds, we come to Maui. Maui has moved off the hotspot. The fire in its belly has gone out. Now a new process begins, the softening. When the fire stops, the rain begins. The wind begins. Maui is older. Its peaks are not as sharp. The valleys are deep and green. The aggressive black lava has been covered in a velvet blanket of rainforest. Maui is resting. It is in the prime of its life, settling down into a comfortable slumber. Drift further northwest. We come to Oahu. This island is even older. It has traveled millions of years away from the source. Think of the shape of Diamond Head or the ridges of the Ko'olau Mountains. They look like pleated curtains, green and folded. The rain has carved them into soft, jagged shapes. The island is slowly shrinking. Gravity is pulling it down. The ocean is reclaiming the edges. There is a peace in this erosion. Oahu is not fighting to be the biggest anymore. It is content to be beautiful. It is content to let the coral reefs build up around its shores, creating turquoise lagoons where the water is still and warm. Drift further still. We reach Kauai, the Garden Isle, the grandmother of the main islands. Kauai is 6 million years old. It is far, far away from the hotspot now. It is deeply asleep. The canyons here, like the Waimea Canyon, are red and deep. The cliffs of the Nepali coast are towering cathedrals of green velvet, worn smooth by eons of rain. Kauai is the softest of them all. It has surrendered completely to the elements. There is no fire here, only the sound of waterfalls, only the sound of the jungle growing over the stone. The journey creates a rhythm in your mind. Birth, drift, sleep. Fire, green, soft. But the story does not end at Kauai. The chain continues. If you look at a map of the ocean floor, you will see a long line of tiny islands and atolls stretching out to the northwest, past Midway, past the Kura Atoll. These are the ancestors. These are the islands that used to be huge, high mountains like the Big Island, but have now drifted so far and slept so long that they have eroded back into the sea. They become coral atolls, rings of white sand holding a circle of blue water. And then, eventually, they sink completely. They become seamounts, underwater mountains. They return to the dark, cool embrace of the deep ocean. This is the Emperor Seamount Chain. It is a ghost procession of islands, marching silently across the floor of the Pacific, heading toward the subduction zone to be recycled. There is something incredibly moving about this life cycle. It tells us that everything has a season. There is a time to be born, full of fire and energy. There is a time to grow green and vibrant. And there is a time to shrink, to soften, and to sink back into the rest from which we came. Tonight, visualize yourself floating on the surface of the Pacific, right in the middle of this chain. The water is warm, perfect body temperature. You are weightless. You are drifting with the plate. You are moving northwest, away from the stress, away from the heat, toward the cool. Feel the trade winds blowing over your body. They are steady winds. They blew for the ancient sailors, and they blow for you. They rock you, gently, gently. Beneath you, the plate is moving at the speed of human hair growth, 4 inches a year. It is the pace of patience. The hotspot is the heartbeat of the Pacific. Pulse, a new island is made. Pulse, a new island is made. Pulse, a new island is made. It is a clock that ticks once every million years. Why worry about the seconds when the earth counts in eons? Imagine the scent of the islands drifting over the water, the smell of wet earth, ginger and jasmine. Imagine the sound of the ukulele plucking out a slow, simple melody that matches the drift of the plate. You are island hopping into sleep. Leave the big island. Leave the fire behind. Float to Maui. Rest in the valley. Float to Oahu.
Lie on the white sand. Float to Kauai. Hide in the green canyons. Float to the open sea. The land dissolves. The horizon is empty. There is only the blue, the deep, comforting, rhythmic blue. The Pacific plate is your hammock. It is strung between the fire of the hotspot and the trench of the deep. It swings slowly, back and forth, north and west. The islands are your stepping stones to silence. Count them as you drift away. 1, 2, 3, gone. The ocean covers everything. The water is smooth as glass. The reflection of the moon dances on the surface, stretching out into a silver path that leads you deeper into the night. You are drifting on the conveyor belt of peace. The machine is working perfectly. You don't have to fix it. Just lie back. Let the trade winds cool your forehead. Let the warm water hold your weight. Hawaii is sleeping. The volcanoes are sleeping. The coral is sleeping. And you are drifting with them northwest into the velvet dark. We have traveled through the deep past. We have witnessed the breakup of Pangaea, the birth of the Atlantic, and the slow, rhythmic march of the islands. We have seen how the world pulls apart. But the story of the earth is not a straight line. It is a circle. It is a cycle. And in a circle, every departure is just a beginning of a return. Tonight, for this penultimate chapter of our journey, we are going to do something extraordinary. We are going to cast our minds forward. We are going to drift far beyond the horizon of the present day, skipping over centuries and millennia like stones skipping over a pond. We are traveling 200 million years into the future. We are going to visit the next great supercontinent. Scientists have given it a name that sounds like a whisper or a lullaby. They call it Amasia. There is a profound comfort in knowing that the ground beneath you has a destiny. The North American continent, that great stone ship you are sleeping on, is not drifting aimlessly. It is heading for a reunion. Right now, as you lie in the dark, the Pacific Ocean is shrinking. We think of the Pacific as endless, but it is actually tired. It is old. The subduction zones we visited earlier are swallowing the ocean floor faster than it can be created. The Pacific is slowly closing its great blue eye. Inch by inch, year by year, the Americas are drifting westward. And far across the water, the great landmass of Asia is drifting eastward. They are moving toward each other. They are long-lost family members separated by a vast distance who have finally decided to come home. Visualizing Amasia is a meditation on connection. It tells us that separation is only temporary. In our lives, we often feel the pain of distance. We feel separated from loved ones, from our past, or even from parts of ourselves. But the earth teaches us that distance is an illusion of time. Give it enough time and everything comes back together. Imagine the process of this reunion. It is not a crash. It is a slow, gentle docking. Imagine a massive ship coming into port. The engines are cut, the momentum slows, the water cushions the hull. And then, with a barely perceptible bump, the ship touches the pier. The ropes are thrown, the connection is made. That is the future of the world. North America will eventually kiss the edge of Asia. The Bering Strait, that cold, narrow gap of water between Alaska and Russia,
will close. It will become a seam of solid rock. The Arctic Ocean will shrink and disappear, creating a new northern bridge. The two greatest continents on Earth will fuse together to create a new singular landmass, Amasia. Americas, Asia, Amasia. Say the name in your mind. It feels round. It feels complete. In this future world, you could walk from New York to Tokyo. You could walk from Alaska to Siberia. There would be no sea to cross. There would be no borders. Just one continuous, unbroken path of Earth. Think of the psychological relief of this oneness. The world we live in today is a world of fragments. We have 7 continents. We have hundreds of islands. We have nations divided by water. It feels scattered. But the Earth prefers unity. It spent millions of years as Pangaea, and it is working its way back to that state. This cycle is known to geologists as the Wilson cycle. The continents come together, they rest, they break apart, they drift, and they come together again. It is the breathing rhythm of the universe. Inhale, unity. Exhale, separation. Inhale, unity. We are currently in the exhale, but the inhale is coming. Imagine what this future continent looks like. Because the Pacific Ocean will close, the coastlines we know today will become the interior. The beaches of California and the cliffs of Japan will meet. And the slow motion embrace of the plates, they will push up new mountains. Imagine a new mountain range as tall as the Himalayas rising up where the Pacific Ocean used to be. These mountains will be the monument to the reunion. They will stitch the hemispheres together. The climate of Amasia will be stable. The interior will be vast and dry, a quiet desert of red sand and silence, much like the center of Pangaea was. The storms of the ocean will be far, far away. In the center of Amasia, the wind will stop. The noise will stop. There will only be the stillness of the gathered land. For you, lying in your bed in the 21st century, this might seem too far away to matter. But it matters because it changes the nature of the ground you sleep on. You are not stranded on a lonely raft. You are on a vessel that knows its course. The North American Craton is steering steadfastly toward the west. It is seeking its partner. There is a sense of inevitability here. You don't have to force connections in your life. You don't have to struggle to bring things together. Gravity and time are doing the work for you. What belongs together will eventually find its way back. Let this thought soothe any loneliness you might feel tonight. If you feel isolated, remember the plates. They are drifting through the dark, through the cold, for millions of years just to find one another again. And they will find one another. It is written in the rocks. It is predicted by the physics of heat and convection. The Atlantic Ocean, which is currently widening, will eventually stop. Someday, far in the future, the mid-Atlantic ridge will cool down. The engine will turn off. And then gravity will take over. The Atlantic will begin to shrink too. Europe and Africa will turn around. They will come back to the Americas. The family will gather for another long geologic winter of sleep. This is the promise of the earth. We will meet again. As you drift closer to sleep now, imagine that you are a time traveler standing on a high peak in the center of Amasia. The sun is setting. It is a giant red sun. The sky is a deep, bruised purple. You look out over the land. To the west, you see the ancient rocks of Asia. To the east, the ancient rocks of America. But there is no line between them. They are fused. The grass crosses the boundary. The animals walk across the boundary. The wind blows across it without pausing. It is a world without edges. It is a world of total integration. Feel that integration in your own body now. Sometimes we feel like our head is separate from our heart, or our mind is separate from our body. But tonight, let them drift together. Let the continents of your own being converge. Let your thoughts merge with your breath. Let your feelings merge with your muscles. Form your own personal Amasia, one solid, peaceful, united self, resting on the mattress. The future is not a scary place. The future is a place of reunion. The chaos of the present is just the turbulence of the drift, but the drift has a destination. The destination is peace.
The destination is wholeness. Listen to the silence of the room. That silence is a little piece of the future silence of the supercontinent. The noise has faded. The separation has ended. The earth is playing the long game. It is patient. It knows that everything that rises must set, and everything that parts must meet. You can trust this process. You can stop rowing now. The current is taking you exactly where you need to go. You are moving toward connection. You are moving toward rest. You are moving toward the great quiet center of the future. The Pacific is closing. The gap is narrowing. The world is healing itself, inch by inch, while you sleep. Let the name echo in your mind like a soft bell. Amasia, Amasia, Amasia. It is the promise of the morning and the promise of the ages. We are all coming home. We have traveled far tonight, you and I. We have walked the silent, fern-covered floor of Pangaea. We have felt the warm breath of the Mantle. We have sailed the stone ships of the continents and watched islands drift into the mist. We have looked millions of years into the past and millions of years into the future. But now the journey of the mind is ending. It is time to return to the journey of the body. Let the images of the maps fade away. Let the vision of the supercontinents dissolve into soft gray. Gently, slowly, bring your awareness back to this moment, back to this room, back to this year. You are here, you are safe, you are lying in your bed in the quiet dark of the present night. Feel the stillness of the room around you. It is a protective stillness. The walls are standing guard. The roof is sheltering you. But beneath the floor, beneath the foundation, the great truth remains. You are resting on the North American plate. It is broad, it is thick, it is ancient, and it is holding you with a strength that has not faltered for billions of years. Tonight, we have learned that the ground is not static. It is moving, it is drifting, and this is the final key to your sleep. Sleep, too, is a drift. Sleep is a tectonic movement of the soul. Think of your consciousness right now as a continent. All day long, you have been collided with the world. You have dealt with the friction of noise, of light, of conversation. You have been in the uplift phase, building mountains of thought, solving problems, standing tall. But now the collision is over. The erosion has begun. You are pushing off from the shore of the waking world. You are cutting the ropes. You are setting sail into the dark, calm ocean of the night. Feel the mattress beneath you. Really feel it. Imagine that your bed is fused to the bedrock below. There is no separation. Your spine is aligned with the spine of the continent. Your breathing is synced with the slow convection of the mantle. Let's scan down through your body, turning your muscles into heavy, comfortable stone. Focus on your feet. Let them fall open. Let them become heavy. Imagine they are made of basalt, that dark, dense rock of the ocean floor. They are so heavy that they are sinking into the mattress. They are anchoring you. The tension is draining out of your toes, dripping away like water into the earth. Focus on your legs, thighs, knees, calves. Let them turn to sandstone, warm, soft, layered sandstone. They feel solid, they feel settled. There is no need to move them. They have been carried by the plate all day, and now they are at rest. Focus on your hips and your stomach. This is your center of gravity. Let it become heavy like granite. The North American Craton is holding your hips. You are locked into the stability of the earth. You are not floating in the air. You are grounded, deeply, profoundly grounded. Focus on your hands and arms. Let them rest by your sides. They are like the sleeping islands of Hawaii. They have drifted away from the hotspot of activity. The fire is out. The work is done. They are cooling down. Let your fingers curl naturally, like the fronds closing for the night. Focus on your shoulders and neck. This is where the mountains were. This is where you held the stress of the collision. But now let the erosion happen. Let the rain of relaxation smooth the sharp peaks. Drop your shoulders. Lower them. Let the mountains become rolling hills. Let the hills become plains. Smooth, flat, open. Focus on your face. Unclench your jaw. Smooth your forehead. Let your eyes settle back into their sockets. Your eyelids are heavy curtains, shutting out the world. Behind them, everything is dark, everything is quiet. Now visualize the connection between continental drift and sleep drift. You know that feeling when you are just on the edge of sleep, when your thoughts stop making sense, when images float by without context. That is the boundary. That is the shoreline. You are pushing off. The current is taking you. It is a warm current. It is the same current that moves the plates. It moves slowly, so slowly you can hardly feel it. But it is powerful. It is irresistible. You are drifting towards REM sleep. REM sleep is the mantle of the mind. It is deep, hot, and fluid. It is where things are melted down and recycled. It is where your memories are sorted, just as the earth sorts its minerals. Allow yourself to sink into that magma. It is not scary. It is the source of all energy. You are going down to be renewed. Listen to the sound of your own breath. Inhale, the Atlantic opens. Exhale, the Pacific closes. Inhale, new peace is created. Exhale, old stress is subducted. You don't have to do anything. The earth doesn't struggle to spin. The plates don't struggle to move. They just obey the laws of the universe. And the law of your universe right now is rest. Gravity is pulling you down. Surrender to it. The night is long.
The continent has a long way to travel before the sun comes up. You have hours and hours of drifting ahead of you, miles of silence, oceans of dream. If a thought comes into your mind, a worry about tomorrow, a memory of yesterday, visualize it as a cloud passing over the landscape. You are the mountain. The cloud is just vapor. Let it pass. The mountain does not chase the cloud. The mountain stays. Be the mountain. Be the stone. You are heavier now than you have ever been. You are sinking through the bed, sinking through the floor, sinking into the soil. Down, down, down. Into the cool, dark embrace of the crust. You are part of the planet. You are spinning with it in the vast velvet silence of space. There is no rush here. There is only deep time. The clock on the wall has stopped mattering. The only time is the rhythm of the rocks. Tick, a century. Tock, a millennium. You are safe in the assembly line of sleep. The process is automatic. First comes the heaviness, then comes the drifting, then comes the dream, then comes the renewal. Trust the machinery of your body. It knows how to sleep, just as the earth knows how to orbit. It has done this for you thousands of times before. It will do it tonight. Feel the comforting weight of the blankets. They are the layers of sediment covering you, keeping you warm, keeping you hidden. You are a fossil of peace, buried deep, undisturbed. We are coming to the end of the story, but it is not the end of the movement. While you sleep, the Atlantic will widen by a fraction of a hair. While you sleep, the Pacific plate will slide a tiny bit further under Alaska. While you sleep, the mountains will erode 1 grain of sand. The world works while you rest. You are free to let go of the controls. The captain of the ship is gravity. The ocean is silence. And the destination is tomorrow. Drift, float, sink. Let the words fade away now. Let the concepts fade away. You don't need to understand plate tectonics anymore. You just need to feel the drift. Drifting west, drifting deep, drifting down. The ground holds you. The night holds you. The sleep holds you. Good night, traveler. Good night, stone. Good night, earth. Drift, silence, sleep.